Yes. Okay. So I will talk to you today about intuitionless LLMs, about the fact that LLMs cannot acquire human-like intuition. Let's see what are LLMs. Well, we define them as AI systems, which are especially built to generate natural language text by predicting every word based on previous words. And how they can do this, because of their extensive training data we allow them access to, and by the fact that they have special algorithms behind for minimizing the prediction error until the output meets or even surpasses human-generated text. So I guess this is why we have all these questions and discussion about the fact that they could or couldn't have LLM human-like intuition or cognition or reasoning or other human characteristics we attribute to them. But we have to take into considerations that current LLMs, they are based on our current understanding of human intuition and biological neural functions, as well as the current developmental stage of artificial neural networks, because these are the basis of LLMs. Good. What is human intuition? Well, if we go to the Webster Dictionary, we'll find out that it's defined in at least 3 or 4 ways. That is, the power or faculty of attaining to direct knowledge or cognition without evident rational thought and inference, or the immediate apprehension or cognition, or knowledge or conviction gained by intuition. And there is yet another definition, quick and ready insight. So it looks like we don't have a clear or definitive definition of this, but we can consider these features and think about if we can make them algorithmic or implement them in any computational system. Let's see how it's defined in science and psychology. Bergson distinguishes between 2 profoundly different ways of knowing a thing. This is by the way of analysis and by the way of intuition. This intuition, he thinks, is the way we enter into the object as opposed to move around the object, which is was considered to be geoanalysis. Another thinker, Daniel Kahneman, maybe you know him because in 2002 he got the Nobel Prize, surprisingly for economics, not for psychology, his main field, but because his research has deep connections with economics. He also distinguishes between 2 ways of thinking. System 1, this one which considered to be intuitive and automatic, and system 2, which is controlled, deliberate, and analytic. But he mentions the fact that it's very important. System 2 should always check system 1. There is yet another philosopher, scientific person, who talks about intuition. Consider that intuition is the things we've learned without realizing we learned them. So kind of mystical, right? Sometimes useful, sometimes not. What about Gilovich? He considered that intuition is like pattern recognition. People's intuition derives from a desire to find patterns and connection in, and how to figure out how to act within an otherwise random universe. So if it's pattern recognition, then maybe it's computational. How about the intuition which is associated with expertness? Herbert Simon, he says that we usually use the word intuition, also judgment or creativity, to refer to this ability of experts to respond to situation in their domains of expertise, almost instantly and relatively accurately. So if like that, maybe we could make it computational. There is yet another thinker, Dreyfus, who says that we are not thinking machine, but intuition could be the final fruit of skill acquisition. And by analysis, we can clarify intuitive insights. So is it computational or not? There are some thinkers, they say it is, because the mind is the brain as the program is to the hardware. Is it like this? Says goes against this idea. He says the computer is not engaging in symbolic thought because there are no symbols in the computer to process or any other mechanism within its hardware to carry that out. There is yet another thinker who supports this idea. He says that computers do not calculate anymore that the clock measures the time because the clock doesn't know anything about the time. Calculation, computers do calculation. Well, I myself calculate with the help of a computer. So computer can be a tool we can consider smart and sophisticated. So if we consider all these definitions, we are one step away for trying to implement this concept of intuition. But how to do it? Well, we need some architectures or some frameworks. There are some architectures constructed out there. One of them is dual process theory, defined as a framework for understanding reasoning and decision making through the dichotomy between type 1 and type 2 processes. But there is a limitation to this. It doesn't take into account why the reasoners sometimes use type 1 and sometimes use type 2. This is not clear how we do this. Coming with a solution for this is Valerie Thompson, who introduces metacognitive experiences as stimuli used in processing type selection. She observed that intuitive answers are considered to be associated with a highly compelling feeling of rightness. So how about we consider this feeling of rightness in our architecture? There have been some studies done about this. Ganapini and colleagues, they proposed a multi-agent AI architecture. They call it SOFI, slow and fast AI. Well, you can see the notice resemblance with Kahneman's naming. Their research shows that indeed, just like it could be observed in humans, initially the system mostly uses system 2 because it needs analysis, and then with experience, mostly uses system 1. So from these studies, we can conclude that indeed systems, machines, they could have at least some kind of human-like intuition. There are some more studies conducted by Hagendorf and colleagues. They applied some kind of test we use for testing human intuition that is called cognitive reflection test on humans and LLMs alike, and they can draw some conclusions. They used different kinds of LLMs like GPT-1, GPT-3 Curry version, and ChatGPT-4. And they found out that GPT-1, they provided correct answer for this cognitive reflection test custom made in 1% of the cases. And 5%, another 5%, they were intuitive. GPT-3, we can see that the percentage of correct answers is increased to 21%. And in GPT-4, correct answers 95, but intuitive 0%. So we go from 5 to 0. Why is that? Let's see, maybe intuition improves with training. They try to apply to these LLMs a chain of thought reasoning by prompting, special prompts for this. And they show that intuition improves with training. They notice a considerable drop in intuitive responses in ChatGPT-3 from 80% correct answers to 29% correct answer. This is an increase in correct. And in ChatGPT even 4 even more. Therefore, they concluded that LLMs demonstrate capacity for improved performance on CRT tasks through target training, and their intuition-like errors diminishing through this process. While this could be, because LLM intuition improves with training. How about human intuition? Does it improve with training? Well, Kahneman disagrees. He said that no, my own intuition and system 1 have really not been educated to be very different. Only system 2 is influenced by training. Even if I catch myself do some errors on the way to do some errors, I still do them because it feels real at the time I'm making it. So this feeling of rightness is huge and driver in human. That's why LLMs got this metaphoric name of stochastic parrots, because we don't know much about the hidden layers workings. We only access them through their output, which is unexpectedly good. So we think that LLMs kind of reason like us. Cal Newport, he supports this idea, saying that if we look inside the black box, we only find the digital logic of pattern matching. So there is nothing else actually in there other than we used maybe similar to good old-fashioned AI algorithms and neural networks. Kahneman on intuition and the integration between intuition and the reasoning in AI, he considered this is not yet achieved. Artificial intelligence produces solutions only by the opaque operations of large neural networks, which shares many features with the automatic intuition of system 1, but we are not there yet. We didn't integrate them. Now the question is, should we keep doing this? What could be which could be the consequences? About this, I have some other questions, which I suggest them as food for thought. We don't have the answers yet, and maybe we should research in these areas. If LLMs were dogs, wouldn't we all be Pavlovs? What I mean by this is that maybe we apply the same behavioristic approach we used in the past. Like we give them some tests, we apply different kind of exams, let's say, on them, and then carefully observe and analyze the external behavior. But we don't know what happened, which are the internal processing mechanisms. What kind of test will be more relevant for this? So we wouldn't fall into the trap of behaviorism. Another idea could be LLMs are like a brain in a vat. They have no access to the natural world outside. They only have access to, yes, everything we've written before and from now on, the symbols we used, but the semiotic link with the outside world is not there yet. Do they come to some sort of understanding based on the training they get? Do they understand what having the experience of seeing red means to us? By this, I mean the metaphoric Mary trapped in that room, having access to every description out there. Will they have another kind of understanding or experience if they would have some kind of sensory inputs? Well, how could we give them some sensory inputs like that? Which would be the consequences? Which would be the use cases for such a tool? We don't know yet. Or do we? Some of you would say that, well, but we give some of them the access to some video camera so they can catch the images of the outside world and make the connection, because some of them, like Dali, we know that they even can draw some pictures based on the description. But are those pictures really pictures for them? Because they are still strings of bits and they are still symbols. So are they indeed having access to another kind of information other than they already have? Well, I think no, but who knows? There is one more food for thought, which I have. What if they are the philosophical zombies we discussed about in philosophy? David Chalmers introduced this argument, saying that it's possible to conceive of such a creature which looks and behaves just like us, but which doesn't possess consciousness and human intuition by this fact. Well, what if LLMs are the incarnation of these zombies? But if they are, what are the consequences? If they are only a tool, which are the use cases for such a tool? If they are one of us, which are the implications for such new creatures we created? So this is my presentation for today. No questions.
Thank you, Gina, for the talk. If you have any questions in person, hey, please.
You have to because make microphone.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Gina. It was an amazing presentation, and I really liked the last part. And I think you did a really great job pointing out different approaches to intuition. And I'm quite curious because you still mentioned a lot this type of feeling of rightness that to me seems pretty ambiguous overall. Because where does this, or how does this feeling of rightness manifest as a cognition? So basically, I have this, feeling that comes from my cognition, okay, this should be right because I feel it this way. Is it either embodied? Because when you talk about gut feelings, you have maybe a physiological reaction starting out. For example, okay, I see a couple of persons that do not look too friendly at night. I have an intuition not to go necessarily near them and avoid them at all costs. So where would you situate this feeling of rightness? Because even though they say, hey, AI cannot have intuition because they do not have rightness, where do you situate it? In cognitions, our way of thinking or feeling in a cognitive capacity, or do we extend it to the body itself in the more of a Fourier approach to cognition?
Well, thank you for your question. Actually, I think this feeling of rightness is situated, yes, in the cognition, but somewhere under awareness. So it's kind of process which happens without your knowing, and you get only the result, this kind of like a trigger to act on it, but you don't know why, and actually you don't know you are doing it. It just comes naturally to you, unexplainable. This could be, this some people know like this mystical thing. You do something without knowing you do it or why you do it. Even if you think back, you apply system 2 and reasoning and analysis. Maybe sometimes you are not able to come up with a clear reason why you did it like that or why you think like that, why that you're feeling.
So wouldn't this make, as a quick follow-up, wouldn't it be like intention a little bit ineffable to define because you cannot have access being under awareness? And I'm not really sure if you can necessarily, in my opinion, put it under awareness because sometimes you have an intuitive kind of intuitive awareness, like you are aware of the situation and you have the feeling and you are conscious of your own feeling. So maybe that's a little bit for me yet unclear, but I really see where you are going with it, and I really like the fact that you put it this way with the other definitions.
I'm searching here for the slide where they check with if it's trainable here.
Yeah.
And he said, yes, even if I know it's not right, and even if my system 2 informs me that I'm going to make a mistake, I still do it because it feels so real in that moment.
Oh, yeah, sure. But for example, I'm thinking usually, because I think we got full-on dialogues from other follow-ups, but I'm thinking usually of people who possess expertise in different fields, And let's say that somebody is a really good handball player. I have a really good friend that's a good handball player, and he said to me, whenever I'm on the playing field, I have these intuitions that basically come to me as, I don't know, mental imagery. I feel it, I kind of know, but he doesn't really go for it all the times because sometimes he switches under his awareness. And I think that's why it's interesting because, I think that expertise can influence intuitions. Whenever I gain more expertise, my intuitions themselves get better, but maybe we're truly unaware of the fact that they got better. For example, if you get really good at maths, maybe your intuitions of applying certain formulas wouldn't really be the same as when I started, you know, just looking and not working them out.
Yes, you're right. And I think now I understand why you ask me if it's embodied or not.
Yeah.
Because I can see where you're going with this, like playing
Yeah.
basketball. In playing basketball, I can actually you cannot play at an expert level with system 2
Yeah.
or with analyzing.
you know,
You have to do it intuitively.
Yeah, you know, it's on the fly, and I think there is still a discussion about how expertise interacts with intuition. That's why I asked you if it's embodied or not, because, you know, you have this type of expertise where intuition appears as something that doesn't really necessarily, it's like the system one, but you
Mhm.
cannot necessarily have reasons for it anyway, or how.
Yes, you're right. Well, that's why it's an ongoing field of
Yeah.
research. That's
True,
why
yeah.
we don't know it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your answers. Sorry, taking so much time.
It's okay. Thank you for question. There is one more.
Any
Here,
other
I think.
questions?
Yes.
Hi, Gina. Thank you. This was a, wonderful way to start a Sunday morning. Not sure if this is, like a really pertinent question, but I thought it was really funny when it popped into my head. On a broad definition of intuition, like whatever it is that it stems from expertise or pattern completion or, whatever you've discussed. Considering that what we know about LLMs is that they try to complete a sequence of words,
Yes.
to the best of their ability to match whatever it should come. Wouldn't that, exact act of chat completion be considered an intuition? Does that make sense?
Yes, I totally understand your question, and you are right. It's a kind of intuition, and that's why these guys here, Hagendorf, they think, oh yeah, so if with prediction we can consider it intuition, let's see how they perform. So they said that GPT-1, yes, have 5% intuitive, but as they went on developing with this kind of chat GPT, 4 reached 0% intuitive answers.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about this as well, because do you really think it's fair for us to administer these kind of tests that were developed for, humans from these sort of models that, might not have all of the humanness to sort of, inform correct answers to this test? Do you think that we should maybe try to find other ways to assess whether they have or do not have what we consider to be intuition?
Yes, I do think that the tests we administer them, they are not relevant, and we should find some other kind of benchmarking, but which one?
Well, maybe we'll find out, during your studies. Thank you for the answers.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for the question.
I think we have another question online. Alexandru Bucla?
Yes, Alexandro?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. So my question was related to this dichotomy, like system 1 and system 2 thinking. I was thinking that maybe there are some kind of discussions that these are not as distinct categories also from the cognition. So maybe we might use combinations of this in a given time. They might rely on each other in order to give the performance that they have. So for instance, system 2 might rely on system 1 and so on. And I was thinking whether this kind of more, I don't know, less exclusive distinction between these two is consistent with what you think about this and the fact that large language models cannot have necessarily even a form of either or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with your idea. Actually, currently, we don't know exactly how this system 1 and system 2, they work, how we employ them in our reasoning, or if our reasoning happens like this. Even this, we don't know yet. And we build these LLMs like a tool to help us do some whatever calculation or help us do what we cannot do or we can do easily without using our own brain. But given the fact that for us it's not clear yet how our own brain functions, well, we implemented what we can understand. So they say that system 2 is more analytical, deliberate control, and always controlling system 1, but we don't know why we employ one and why the other. But based on the understanding we have, there is this research study used by Mariana Ganapini, and they tried to simulate how we understand our own reasoning and system 1 interaction with system 2, and they came up to these conclusions. But maybe more research should be done in this direction.
Yes, I liked your example with the Pavlovian case. So we are Pavlovians, and the large language models are, let's say, what we train them to be. And I think this is a kind of more behaviorist assumption of all these studies related to fast and slow thinking, that basically we just, in many cases, I guess we decide if the system 1 or system 2 is in use because of the output. And we do not necessarily look at how these are like processed at the cognitive, more neural maybe level and so on. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, it's also interesting because we don't really understand how the hidden layer works. We only get the result, which is good, maybe too good for us. We don't know exactly how they change the weights inside, but well, they are doing it well. Okay, I think there is another message on the chat. Yes,
Yeah.
closer to the mic.
Oh. Can I have the microphone here? No.
No, you
No, you have to come here.
So. No, just a very quick question. So, you mentioned a study in which they analyzed ChatGPT's intuitive responses, and I missed the part on what did they take to be an intuitive response of ChatGPT? Did they take something like the initial response to a prompt without the chain of thought reasoning, or what? I missed the thing. So I was curious about that. That's all.
That's because I didn't include, due to the time limitation, I didn't include the whole study in here, but they define what does it mean compared to human. They administer 500 CRT tests to LLM and another 500 to the same 500 to another 460 something people, and they try to match the results. Like, look, for humans, these kind of answers look like intuitive. This is correct, and this could mean these are wrong, completely wrong. So like that, yeah. Made the analogy. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they did it twice, one time for without chain of reasoning and without training, and then again some other tests they crafted off with a chain of thought reasoning prompt.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Another question.
It will be short, I guess. Can we change to the parrot?
Parrots? Yeah, I think Indian.
Yeah,
Here. Oh,
no.
Stochastic parrots.
Yeah. I think we all know, this shortened but kindly effective article, but it was released in 2021. For example, before OpenAI revolution, before we opened the black box, before we knew a lot of things about AI, and I mean, how it's relevant for you? Is it relevant to you to call them like stochastic parrots today in 2025, or it's something else already, or we should like find another metaphor for it? It's kind of similar question to this girl, but she's gone. So yeah. Is it still necessary to call them stochastic?
I think yes.
Oh,
It's still
why?
stochastic parrots because we didn't change anything fundamental.
No, we changed, honestly.
Fundamental?
Yeah, when we call them stochastic, we mean the random.
Mm.
But this randomness comes because of AI don't have the semantic understanding of language, right? That's why we call them stochastic. But
Yes.
in different reasons, in 2021, we think that we thought that they have just the simple, chain of thought, the simple neural links. But right now we know that these neural links, it's more emergent. They have sub-neurals. They have their own language that is English, but it's very similar to English, honestly. And it's fundamentally not.
Well, do they? I disagree.
Oh,
So I still think even if their result is better, even if they mimic better human language, human natural language, and with chain of thought reasoning, there are even some studies showing graph of thoughts. Maybe this you refer to as their inner thinking. But I think this is still not accurate. This is still some kind of algorithms going on.
Don't you think that it's
In the black
too
box.
risky to simplify what we don't know exactly? Then, if you think
I only think there are some tools which we built by the way we understood how our neural networks simplified, actually, because we don't know how our neurons work. We simplified them in a way which we can understand and which we can implement in some computers. So that's why I think there is no emergent feature like this one. But this is just my
it's not debates, right?
and I don't say it's not possible to create some such creatures which look like us. Like you can say it looks like a duck or quacks like a duck, but it's not a duck. I think for the moment it's not a duck because the process we create
So,
them.
okay, so what about philosophical zones? Because you just mentioned.
Yeah, I don't think they are philosophical zombies in that way. Or maybe they could be only philosophical zombies, but they cannot feel, they cannot understand.
But the philosophical zombies, and it looks like dark and it's dark,
But they don't feel the pain.
they don't have conscience.
Yeah, they don't have
It's physical still. I don't know if we could really.
Yeah. I don't know if they are or not, but this just open discussion.
Yeah, right. Thank you for the answer.
Thank you for your questions. Hai să văd dacă e pe chat ceva.
If you have any other questions, either in person or online, I think there was a message, but that was really.
De ce nu se mai vede mesajul?
Okay. Okay, we can move on. Are there any questions in the chat?
Thank you.